Yes, my people, as the halt, it don't happen. The long-awaited presidential debate is here. Man, not talk too much. My obedient family just hit the like button so that I make Facebook for recommend this video, give other people when they see am. These debates are between Tinubu and Peter Obi. Please watch, share, and comment, and choose your preferred candidate in the comment section. For me, now Peter Obi, obedient, and also now we get this comment section.
To pick on a few critical things, you really had security as something that is your top priority to ensure that we have an enabling environment in Nigeria for living and doing business. You talked about removal of the PMS subsidy, and then you also talked about the critical need for power sector reforms. So I'm just trying to, just as we open up this discussion, I want to find out in the first 100 to 200 days in office, what should citizens expect to see if you're elected as president, sir?
Day one, hit the ground running. Day two, continue running. Day three, don't rest. Think and do. Select the best teams that will help build a better Nigeria. Teamship is crucially important. And giving the people opportunity to exercise their talents in turning the ship of the nation and retooling the mindset. Do we believe in ourselves? Or do we continue to make mass migration? Definitely, the security challenge must be eliminated. With technology, human beings attract more people into the army, given, voluntary army and the equipment necessary, all the tools to fight insecurity must be employed to have a nation that is confident, bold, and peaceful, seeking prosperity for these people. And that's what we do.
If you're elected on the 29th of May, so what are those key things that you would like to run with in the first 100 to 200 days in office? What should citizens expect to see, given the current situation in the country as has been presented by our colleague who is the Director of Research of the NESG?
Well, I think, thank you. The first thing, without which there's no other, the other ones will never follow, is the issue of security. We'll aggressively, from day one, start dealing with the issue of insecurity, which have said that the enemies are not more formidable. I've traveled all over Nigeria. I've been to places that people said you can't go, like I mentioned. I've been to Pew in southern Borno. I went to Katangu in southern Gombe, where they say we shouldn't go. I went to Mubi in Adamawa. People ask them, why Mubi? As governor, I buried one day 20 Anambarians who were killed in Mubi. So when I arrived at Adamawa, I said, leave Yola, I want to go to Mubi. And again, they told me the same thing. These places you're going, you're not secure, we didn't have police, we don't have anything, and everything. I said, well, let's go there. People live there. I went to places, and so issue of security of life and property is our number one priority, without which there won't be anything. Following that is the issue of trying to bring in some intangible assets that I can call low-hanging fruit, ensuring the rule of law and order, and a great environment that will start making people to have confidence to start investing in this. And of course, our main mantra is to remove the country from consumption to production. As you can see in the presentation, you see that everything here revolves around lack of production and not doing the right things. being a productive country. That's basically what we will focus aggressively.
Now, we like we have, has been highlighted, through the presentations today, the country has experienced, economic growth. Unfortunately, a lot of the growth that we have seen has not translated to improved living conditions for the average citizen. And, some of those things, get us to think around how this has contributed possibly to the rising unemployment levels. Youth unemployment is at unprecedented levels. Even people who are currently employed, some of them are actually underemployed, and we see all those things. What sort of strategies, especially with a focus on the youth, would you employ to tackle issues related to unemployment in the country right now?
Private sector driven opportunity, tackle the power problem head on. People can work by themselves. A common school driver can create a path to fortune if electricity is taken care of and other infrastructural areas. Carrying them along. And the change of mindset, I will repeat that over and over again. Patriotic commitment, the conversion of negativity to a positive drive, and partnership with the private sector to create a job, to put an incentive there. If you hire 500 new employees, why can't I, as a government, give you some tax incentive to offset that payroll and the pension contribution that may be associated with it? I don't want to sit here and reveal all my strategy. I am the first speaker among the three of us running. So they will spy on me. So you will have a limited answer here today. Another day you can bring me back.
In economic growth, but that growth has not translated to improved socioeconomic conditions. It has not even translated to improved living standards. Living standards at an all-time low in Nigeria as we speak. And then given the rising unemployment and underemployment, with youth disproportionately bearing the burden of this unemployment crisis, what are your thoughts around improving or scaling employment opportunities when you assume office?
Well, for me, when you move, like I said, from consumption to production, what I expect that comes with issue of creating jobs. Today, you have most of even from the rest that's been shown here, you have most of your states, most of the subnationals virtually living on sharing whatever they can get from statutory allocation. There's nothing happening. Even the so-called productive sectors like a manufacturing sector, everything, look at the percentage. A manufacturing sector contributes to GDP. That's less than 10%. If you check all other countries, comparable countries, it's about twice that minimum. The agriculture, which is actually contributing more in terms of almost 26%, again, those who are involved in that sector will even tell you they're not doing anything where it should be, considering that near over 50% of our arable lands are cultivated. So there's a lot of improvement on that. And you see a lot of government measures that is being advertised in TV. They only end up in TV. Most of them are actually not scaled down to where they will be. You only hear those good figures on TV. So we're going to do it differently, where we're going to ensure that all those programs and everything are actually executed in a manner where they support the industries. But you can't do all this without dealing with the issue of power. And I've said that if you do the right support to power generation, transmission, and distribution, considering that it's been shown that power alone, if you get it right, can add up to 2% to your GDP. We are looking at figure 3. So if we have a sector that can add another 2, I'll do everything possible. We'll do everything possible to ensure that that sector is up and running. And then consider that manufacturing is where you're going to create jobs. If you look at our manifesto, we say we're going to have an agrarian revolution that will support the industries and lead to exports. In doing all this, you'll be able to create jobs and be able to start pulling people out of poverty.
Because we're looking at youth, we're looking at large numbers. What are your ideas around scaling, employment opportunities for this large population of young people who are currently unemployed?
First of all, commodity exchange. Make farming more attractive. The youth that can operate AK-47, can operate better a good tractor to clear the bush and plant the seeds. Retrain them. I will stop here.
Thank you, sir.
I don't want to give you a comprehensive plan that I have because others are coming.
Thank you. What specific sectors would you be focusing on? Because the scale of the problem is huge. So what sort of sectors will you be focusing on to?
Agriculture, manufacturing, and we'll support it in such a way that it will focus on export. There's other areas where you can, of course, try to develop more, even in entertainment, even other areas that have shown growth from what is happening in ICT. But these are the fundamental things that a target that Nigeria must feed itself. Because we have our biggest physical assets is uncultivated land in the north. And when we talk about poverty and youth unemployment, the north is where it is worse. And that focus on the north, considering that they have vast uncultivated land. I was telling somebody yesterday how I went to prison to discuss Niger State. You have 7 local governments in Niger State is under control of bandits. I discussed with the governor, the present governor. You can't even go there. Nobody goes there. Schools there, everything is shut down. So what I do is that I took a tour. I went to the prison to see the young boys who are causing this problem, who have been arrested. Why did you do this? He said they have no job. I said, so how much were you paid in the last operation? 20,000, 30,000. None of them was paid more than 30,000. And that's what they paid them to kill somebody. And I compared that. I went to Kenya. I went to the flower fields where young people were cultivating flower. They were being paid $100. And unemployment in Kenya is less than 10%. I went to Ethiopia and saw where we were picking coffee. Unemployment is there. So, agriculture, if well supported, Niger State has fertile land that I can compare to the best in the world. Some of the people who are involved with agriculture here and they can educate me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it is because I saw it. And I came to the government and said, no, you live on 776.3 thousand square kilometers of land. And all you get every year for statutory allocation is less than 50 billion naira. And this vast land is there, all cultivated. And I gave him an example. I said, it might not be a perfect example because you can say this is Western world. I told him, I said, Netherlands with 33,000 square kilometers, which you have 2.5 times, did agricultural export of $120 billion in 2021. If you do 5% of that, that's $6 billion, which are 650. Sorry, bankers will say it's 420. I don't buy 420, I'm very sorry. So it's 620, it's about 3.9 trillion. Almost 80 times what you get from sharing. So there's a lot we can do with the vast uncultivated land in the north. For me, that is where we should key in. When I met Shehu of Boronu, it was something I told him. You can't have this vast land, everything. Yes, the complaint issue of dams and everything. I said, but we are flooding somewhere. Why can't we start? We get the experts to tell us how to divert this water instead of causing us problem when we need it somewhere to do somewhere. There must be a way. These things are done today, so we can create dams and everything and all that. So this is my focus.
23 budget proposal suggests that borrowing would be the primary means of funding expenditure, the government budgets. And that brings, some challenges that we also need to discuss, because currently projections, exceed revenue expectations. What other revenue sources can you identify, Your Excellency? What sort of funding models can we expect, from your government if elected to office? Borrowing. What sort of other funding mechanisms can we expect to use to fund our government budgets?
I did it well, and I did it well, I'm proud, in Lagos. 600 million naira a month internally generated revenue. Today, 50 billion naira every month. I'm making it the 5th largest economy. Let's take one. I won't go to the rest. But right back to the revenue, your savings from oil subsidy. You have an increased revenue. You have a gap there, right? Right back. The opaque exchange rate. Into the revenue. You are not borrowing. Make your oil competitive. Attract foreign investment. If you attract foreign investment with incentives, you have expanded base of money coming in. All you have is a deferred tax period. A creative mind is a fertile land for growth.
Thank you. Now, we see right now that our borrowing projections exceed revenue expectations. So we're borrowing even more than the revenue coming in. And the quality of the borrowing, we're borrowing to service debt. We have an impending debt crisis. We're also borrowing, to pay even PMS subsidy. So what are your thoughts around alternative funding models for the country as we look at the outlook for 2023? What sort of alternative funding models will you be thinking about? Because the borrowing is not sustainable.
Well, first is to discuss borrowing. There's nothing wrong in borrowing. Absolutely. It is what you use what you borrowed for to do. Borrowing is no country of the world that I know that is not borrowing money. None of them that I know that do not have debt. All of them. Even Norway with the 1.4 trillion sovereign wealth is still borrowing. Everybody borrows. Every country we've used as an example, even those who are sophisticated, some professors. With my little experience as a trader, I know that the biggest country, which is America, today have almost 90% debt to GDP. Second one, China, they're over 60 to GDP. Japan is 230. Even Singapore, people cite every day, is 130% debt to GDP. The problem we have as a country is that the money we borrowed was just simply disappeared. Some swallowed by snakes, some swallowed by this. So nobody knows where the money went. So borrowing is not a problem. We will borrow more. I can assure you. We will restructure. Yesterday, I had a banker, a very top banker that I highly respect. He said to me, Peter, I'm worried about this. They said it's 70 70. If you add 40 something to 23, what that means? But you didn't add the borrowing of this year's budget, which is about 7 trillion. So it's about 77 now by the time we conclude this year. So he said, how are you going to deal with it? I said, well, listen, countries have been worse than that. And I can show you using an example of 2 countries that borrowed in the past few years. So we will first restructure what is existing today. After which, we will now, one of the things that I said I'll do, that I must take a law to National Assembly to ensure that all our borrowing, like it is in Singapore, is for investment. And there must be investment everybody can see. On Thursday, I was in Bauchi, and I said to people, let's go and visit the tomb of Tafa Balewa. My vice presidential candidate asked me, Peter, why? And I said to them, for what this man did, our first loan as a country was borrowed in 1964 by Tafa Balewa. June 17th, he wrote the world back to borrow $82 million to build 760 megawatts of electricity generation in Kaiju Dam. 59 years after, Kaiju Dam is still standing, even contributing in its own small way. But today, our debt is 77 trillion. If you use their official rate, because they use the official rate to calculate, let me not use my rate now, it's $187 billion. $82 million in 64 is about 1.2, 1.4 now. So if I use 1,250,000,000, that money is about 150 Kainji dams. Where is it? That is the problem of our borrowing. Lagos Ibadan Express Road, the last time I checked, to complete it is just about 250 billion naira. East-West Road, which is where we get the oil from, everything, the most important road there, in Niger Delta, was about 300 and something billion. Kaduna, Abuja, Kaduna, Kano. These 3 roads is just about 1 trillion. And they tell you that the money they borrowed is for capital projects. Which capital project is more important than this 3? At least we can see it. We can feel it. You say, oh, this is... We've borrowed almost over 50 trillion in the past 5 years. That was all probably 70% swallowed by snake.
All right.
So these are the things we need to start looking at. How do we say we're going to borrow? There's nothing wrong in borrowing.
But it has to be for investment.
For investment that is visible, transparent, verifiable by the citizens.
Talking about, now that you've brought up, this oil revenue, foreign direct investments, can we discuss a bit more about how you intend to drive direct foreign investments into Nigeria? This is critical to economic growth, and we're at a period when this has faded, and this is part of the reasons why we have some of these challenges.
Yeah, a beautiful lady, and the problem is talking about age to women. So I don't know how old you are when we started PIA. Look at how many years it took us to conclude on it. No, you don't accept that. That is not growing a nation. Look at the bottleneck on the PIA itself. The one that we have right now. Untie the bottleneck. Make accelerated action. You have proposals you submit today, you must have a timeline for the approval of that project. If I know as an investor that I'm giving you this proposal and expected a return within the next 3-4 weeks, and I get it, it's calendarized, I will bring my money. The more money you have, the more comfortable you become. And you can promote those ideas. There is bureaucratic bottleneck in the establishment. I'm not given to it. I've never worked for government before. I guide the government. I was the governor of Lagos State. That's my first public life government. Deloitte and training, good university education, Deloitte training, ExxonMobil, Auditor General, ExxonMobil, Treasurer. At the time that we are craving and dying of foreign exchange, I don't know what is my luck, that I come time again, foreign exchange problem. But we survived. I remit all our dividends. We completed that building without 2% variation. Look at Falomoin LSDPC building. It wasn't completed about 10 years later. And we started at the same time. Efficiency, transparency. I didn't receive from Julius Baja